Obviously, the big story that everybody's talking about, front page of all the newspapers today, royal news, the Queen sadly missed the state opening of Parliament for the first time today in almost 60 years. The palace said this is due to her episodic mobility issues, they've called it, so they seem to come and go. Prince Charles took her place alongside his wife Camilla, and Prince William was there too. So I believe she is only, in her entire reign, Janet, missed this twice for when the birth of her two youngest children, Andrew and Edward.
Yes.
So this must be a very difficult decision for her to have made. I'm sure she would have had the final say. I'm sure her advisors and physicians and things really looking after her, but very, very difficult for her to decide not to be there today.
I think it's all to do with public image, isn't it? I think that the Queen, it's important that the Queen has an air of mystery and mystique and that we don't know everything about her and what's going on in her head. And I think the role of being the monarch requires that you keep your dignity at all times. And there's some mystery about, you know, what you actually think on any subject. And I think the Queen would not want to be photographed or filmed in a wheelchair. And that's her prerogative. It's a very difficult decision,
isn't it?
Well, it is. And also, she also realises that if she is seen in a wheelchair, being wheeled into that will be the picture worldwide.
Yeah.
Everywhere. That will be the one picture, and that's what everyone will be talking about.
Yeah, because whether we like it or not, an image of her in a wheelchair signifies declining power.
Yeah, she doesn't want that.
And she's not declining mentally,
Yeah.
that's perfectly clear. And it's also clear that she didn't even like being photographed with a stick.
No. She used that very briefly.
Yes, and also the picture with the two horses, the ponies, well, they were supporting her.
Yeah.
That's as though she was able to be photographed not holding a stick. So I think it's really tough because obviously mentally she's on the ball. She's still got an amazingly big workload. But you have to weigh that up about how do you want to be perceived.
Well, she's always been perceived as a strong woman, hasn't she? Decision maker, head of state. Hard-working. So, yeah, that would be very difficult. I mean, you're the youngest member of our panel, Frankie. Would it bother you to see her in a wheelchair?
No, it wouldn't. It really wouldn't. And I think it would do a lot for, you know, other people that are in wheelchairs or, you know, have disabilities. But I think I completely understand, like Cole said, I think that's what we'd be talking about. Like, already now we're talking about it and she's not even going, you know? So I think it would distract from what they're all there for. So I completely understand it. But I think it happens a lot. Like, I know with my grandparents, they didn't like going out on their mobility scooters. It took them a really long time to accept that they needed them. And I think sometimes maybe if she had to have someone pushing her around, she'd feel a bit like a burden.
The thing is, it's all about how that person feels, because obviously disability and mobility issues doesn't take away power, or, you know, and shouldn't and doesn't, but it's how that person feels, Janet, isn't it? And then we got talking, because we were talking about the Queen today, and saying it does, for all of us, we're facing older age and we're facing some issues with health, perhaps, and it's very hard to accept them sometimes because in your head you still feel 25.
I know. Well, I still feel like 18 and really stupid in my behaviour and how I think and so many other things about my life. But I have to accept, in the last few years, I broke my ankle, but that was like climbing in the Highlands. I had a knee replacement. And I was really not happy about being out in public with a stick or even a wheelchair. And I was in the south of France when I broke my ankle and I had it in a moon boot and I had to go through Nice airport and Elton John wheeled me through the airport in a wheelchair and he had a baseball hat on. Nobody noticed me in the wheelchair. They're all thinking, oh, isn't that Elton John? Luckily that no one saw me. But it's a vanity thing too, I admit it. I was vain. I didn't want, even though it would have helped me with my knee replacement to have a stick, I thought, I'm not going to have
I think where it becomes sad is that people, because it probably is vanity and it's also that trying not to acknowledge that you need it and you're at that age, but then it stops them living the last part of their life because they don't want to go out and be seen with a stick, or they don't want to go out and be pushed
my Auntie Vi didn't go out. My cousins bought my Auntie Vi a mobility scooter. She went on it once, so she didn't like it, and it sat in the hall. I mean, it's really ridiculous.
It does make you feel a bit vulnerable as well, I think, because I think if someone sees you, they obviously think, you know, you can't
Yeah,
get
but
around that
you see, I loved
fast,
my
or-
mum's attitude because my mum got to a point she had to have knee replacements and all that. She had terrible arthritis, and she got to a point where she had to go in a wheelchair, and there was no question that she wasn't going to get in it because she just wanted to be out.
She wanted to be out,
She didn't want to sit in her little sheltered accommodation all day. She wanted to. She didn't care what she was in as long as she was
To
out.
be
And
fair,
I
know
love
someone
that
like that.
attitude.
I think that's right. I think it's either you stay in and you don't do things like you said, or you do, you get out and you get about. You know, I know this older couple who the only way that they were going to get around with their grandchildren at a theme park was to be in these mobility scooters. And actually, they blooming loved them. They were like, you know, they had right away. Everyone had to get out of their way and they could chill out and carry stuff for the kids. The kids got on with them. And actually, it meant that they could have that special day and have those memories with the family. Whereas if they decided not to do it...
Yeah, I think sometimes it's a case of swallowing your pride a
Yeah.
little bit, isn't it? But listen, we wish Her Majesty, because we know she watches Loose Women. So, Your Majesty, if you're watching today, we're very sorry not to see you at the state opening of Parliament, but we wish you very well and hope you will be up and about again very soon.